going to call the meeting for Akron City Council to order. At this time, our clerk will read the roll.
Baylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Kamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Mosley,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
All members are present.
Thank you. At this time, we'll be led in prayer by Councilman Mike Freeman. Immediately following our prayer, will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilwoman Baylor.
All right, thank you. Let's pray together. Lord, you have been our dwelling place throughout many, many generations. Before the mountains were born, before the world was brought forth, even then you remained as the everlasting God. And we acknowledge tonight that just we're dust, and that 1,000 years in your sight is just like a day. And so we need to be reminded to number our days and to apply our hearts to wisdom. We thank you for your unfailing love. We just ask that your favor would rest upon us, and that you would establish your work, the work of your hands through our lives. We pray these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The minutes from our previously held meeting have been provided. Are there any corrections or additions? Councilman Fusco?
Motion to approve.
Thank you so much. Can we get a second, Councilwoman Holland?
Second.
Roll call.
Baylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Kamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Mosley,
Aye.
Neal,
Same.
Amobian,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
The minutes are approved 12-0 with one abstention.
Before you, you have the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve? Councilman Fusco?
Motion to approve.
Can we get a second, Councilman Kamer?
Second.
Roll call.
Baylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Kamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Mosley,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
The consent agenda passes 13-0.
We do have one public hearing scheduled for this evening. Our clerk will read in item number 1.
Notice is hereby given that the following public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, February 14th, 2022, during the regular council meeting at 7 p.m. Ordinance authorizing a conditional use to establish a Type A daycare home at 986 Raymond Street.
Mr. Antonucci?
Yes, thank you, Madam President, members of council. Lamelia Barclay is requesting permission to establish a child daycare home, a Type A, at this location. The proposed Type A daycare home, Melia's Unique Angels, would occupy the first floor of the two-story, 1,300 square foot dwelling. The facility would provide services and activities for up to 12 children at a time, ranging in age from 6 weeks to 12 years. The daycare would be operated 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, with every other weekend off. Children will be dropped off and picked up along the house street side of the house. This is a corner lot. The property contains a rear yard outdoor play area, which is enclosed by 6 feet tall chain link fencing. Petitioner stated that she has 19 years of childcare experience. Due to the flexible and varied scheduling needs of the children, the proposed daycare should not significantly raise the level of activity on this property. Providing quality daycare service is beneficial to the entire city. Office of Integrated Development, Planning Staff, and Planning Commission recommend approval, subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and open up our public hearing. We do have 3 individuals who signed up to speak in favor of this ordinance. So we'll start with our petitioner, Mrs. Barclay.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
Yes, I've been in daycare since I've been in high school, pretty much been my dream since high school. I was in the ECE program my 11th grade year, and I've been in daycare ever since. And I've been, my type B been open for 5 years now, and I want to expand to help any providers and help any parents who need help to with more kids. Instead of 6, I can have 12, and they help the parents out when they need to go to work or school or anything else. So yeah, I've been in daycare for some time now, and I love daycare. I love working with kids. I have 2 kids of my own, so I really enjoy working with daycare with kids.
Mrs. Barclay, thank you so much for your comments. And I do have to apologize because I jumped the gun a little bit. All those who are speaking at this public hearing do need to be sworn in. So Mrs. Barclay, I'm just going to ask that you be sworn in as well by our law department. Thank you.
Good evening. So would everybody who's going to give testimony this evening, go ahead and raise your right hands. We've got them. Okay, very good. So do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Good. And we can go ahead and ratify those
I do.
statements, even that affirmation or oath. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Angeloni. Thank you. Do we have Mr. Darren Moore online with us?
Madam President, he is here. Mr. Moore, are you able to turn your video on?
I see his video's on. He just needs to unmute. Mr. Moore, can you unmute yourself?
Here you go.
Okay, yeah, there you go. We can hear you now. Mr. Moore, did you want to bring forth comments this evening?
I think my daughter did, but she was in class earlier.
Okay, yep, she did. I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to add.
No, not at this time.
Okay, all right, thank you. We also had Althea Beasley who signed up. I don't know if you have anything else that you would like to add.
Well, not really nothing that I needed to add other than what I said earlier. I have mentored my daughter and been working very closely with her. We both worked at daycares together, actually in separate classrooms, but she's a wonderful provider. She has not had any issues in this field with parents, with children, the state, or anything like that. And I think that being able to give her this opportunity to expand will, help her with her lifelong dream of being able to provide for families and doing something that she really loves to do. That's all.
Okay, thank you so much. We did not have anyone who signed up to speak against this ordinance. So at this time, we're going to go ahead and close our public hearing. Councilman Fusco, what is the committee's pleasure?
Thank you, President Somerville. I'd like to pull the committee for a favorable report with suspension of the rules. Kamer,
Aye.
Mosley,
Aye.
Baylor,
Aye.
Connor.
Aye.
Report of the committee is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules.
Are there any objections on suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, thank you. We've received no objections to this conditional use request. The planning department and commission recommended approval. The ward council representative is in favor. So we're recommending approval this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The rules have been suspended and the committee's report is favorable. Roll call.
Baylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Kamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Mosley,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
This ordinance passes 13-0.
Thank you. We'll continue with our old business. Councilman Fusco, what is your pleasure on the rest of the agenda?
Time on 2, 3, and 4, those are referred. And item number 5, the committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for passage this evening.
Okay, thank you so much. Do you have any other comments, Councilman Fusco, before we take the vote?
Just that this is a 2022 capital budget. Want to thank all those who participated from the city, all the administrators, all the folks that came in to provide testimony to the committee, and actually all of council. A lot of council members had input in terms of where these funds are going to be spent. And so we're looking forward to seeing this through. There's ARPA funds included, community development block grant funds included. And so we're obligated from the charter to have this passed by February 15th, which by the way is tomorrow. So after all the input and from everyone, we're recommending approval this evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Councilman Neal?
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate all the work that the planning department put in this. I appreciate the discussion that we've been able to have, but I am troubled because, as Councilman Fusco mentioned, this has ARPA dollars in it. And per the US Treasury, the ARPA dollars were required to invest equitably. Back in September, we shared those concerns, and we were told that there would be something put in place for us to be able to, one, even if it's just council, understand what it is when we mean equitably, so we can see if we're investing these dollars equitably. We have no definition, we have no metrics. And we're told that this is coming, but yet we continue to spend the dollars. It concerns me. More than concerns me, it troubles me because I can't vote with a clear conscience on this budget because we have not taken time since September to sit down and put those things in place to see if these dollars that we're spending on good projects, but are we investing them equitably? And so I just wanted to share that because I don't know when we're going to have a definition of equity. I don't know when we're going to have metrics, but yet we continue to spend money past expenditures. We're passing this budget and pass legislation with that word in there and with dollars in there. And we have no way of measuring if we're doing it, as we say, equitably. So with that, I'll be abstaining, unfortunately, from this vote.
Thank you, Councilman Neal. Councilman Fusco?
Yes, thank you. With the restrictions from the ARPA dollars, we've all seen the map. The map that excludes Ward 6, Ward 10, large portion of Ward 10, portions of Ward 7, portions of Ward 1, portions of Ward 8. We've seen that map that excludes those portions. We've seen the map in terms of the community development block grant funds. Okay, that map excludes all of 8, all of 6, and other areas. The thing of it is that when this is designed by the federal government, it's meant to be spent in the hardest hit areas of our city. And that's where the funds are going. We will also see every piece of everything within this budget. We'll see it again, especially the community development block grant funds. We've outlined today and have been outlining the way the ARPA funds are going to be going, and there will be an opportunity for council. There is an opportunity for council. We have been in discussions with the administration in terms of that whole piece. So with that, I rise in favor.
Thank you, Councilman Fusco. Councilman Neal?
Yes, Madam President, thank you. I don't want to belabor this point, but I do want to say this. I've been on this council now for close to 13 plus years, and I've heard that these dollars will come back to us. And I want to mention something that all of us can drive through this city and look at inequity by driving through our neighborhoods and looking at the investment in our schools. I remember talking about when they were building Ellet, and I raised a question and said, oh, that's going to come back before us. Ellet is right down the street from East. East, you spend less than $40 million on that high school. In the Ellet community, you spend 60 on the high school and another 40 on the middle school. You come to my community and they spend less than 40 on the high school and the middle school combined. And you drive over to Firestone and you've got $100 million. We've been kicking this can down the road. Now we're forced to talk about equity because of these dollars. And we don't even have a definition by which to go by. I use that example because that is a glaring testimony of inequity in our community, inequitable investment. And here we have an opportunity to at least attempt to start investing in our communities equitably. And every time we turn our back on addressing the issue, and it concerns me. In September, many of us expressed this concern. And here we are in February voting, and we still don't have a definition. We still don't have metrics by which to measure. I use the schools because anybody can comprehend that. And if it's that glaring that we make that mistake in building our schools, imagine how that inequitable investment is everywhere else. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman Neal. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor, roll call.
Baylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Kamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Mosley,
Aye.
Neal,
Dang.
Amobian,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
This passes 12-0 with one abstention.
Councilman Fusco?
Yes, thank you, President Somerville. The request of the committees to file 8, 9, and 10. File those items. We've already had the public hearings on them, and we voted on them. Item number 11, this is the sale of property at 14228 Hoover Road, Troy Township, that the city of Akron owns, and this is selling that property to a surrounding neighbor.
Okay. Thank you so much. So the committee's report is favorable. Any other further comments, Councilman Fusco?
No.
Okay, thank you so much. So all in favor, roll call.
Baylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Kamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Mosley,
Nay.
Neal,
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
This passes 12-1.
Councilman Fusco?
Time on the balance.
Okay, time will be granted. Housing and Neighborhood Assistance, Councilman Fusco.
The report of the committee is adverse on item number 1, or only item.
Okay, so committee's report is adverse. Are there any other additional comments at this time? Councilman Neal?
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to speak again. This resolution came into us back in December. It's an opportunity. And I mentioned, hey, there was an article in the paper yesterday about what communities are doing to retain young talent in their communities. We know that our city lost 10,000 people in the census. We know that there was a report that came out about for the first time last year, there were more deaths than births. We also know that providing people with an opportunity to acquire a home is the foundation to building generational wealth. Here we have the opportunity with $400,000 in our budget to tear down homes, to try something different through the Scholar Graduate Neighborhood Revitalization Program by giving those with college debt the opportunity to acquire a home that needs repairs, go through the same mediation as they would if they would buy a home, and work with community partners to acquire that. It would, instead of a vacant lot in many of our communities, we would retain a house. We would keep that tax base. We would bring young families, probably with children age, into our community. That would bring dollars into our school system. It would also bring their discretionary income into the neighborhoods where they live, rather than just tearing down homes. As I stated, Habitat for Humanity says that 30% of the homes that we tear down don't need to be torn down. At the time that this proposal was first brought before council 9 years ago, we were tearing down 500 homes a year. I don't know how many are being torn down now, but even if we save one house per ward, that's 10 families that we're able to keep and help get a start. To not try, again, this is a resolution, just saying that, we have the resolve to give this an opportunity, a chance. It's in the ordinance where we work with all of our corporate partners to put something really together. And I just, I appreciate those that brought honest dialogue to this. But if not this, what? And if not now, when? If I can use that phrase, because like I said, this was brought to us 8 years ago. It's never been accepted. And now with us having $400,000 in our budget to tear down homes, this is a great opportunity for us to try to save some of that money so we could shift that to minor home repair and give those who have college loan debt a chance to get a leg up. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Neal. At this time, the committee's report is adverse. So all in favor of the adverse report, roll call.
Baylor,
Sorry. Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Kamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Mosley,
Nay.
Neal,
Nay.
Amobian,
Nay.
Somerville.
Aye.
The motion for an adverse report passes 10-3.
That concludes our old business for this evening. We'll now move into new legislation.
Item number 1, offered by Fusco, ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a lease agreement with Level 3 Communications LLC for the lease of approximately 1,627.5 square feet of city-owned land located at 450 and/or 451 Hickory Street, Akron, Ohio, 44303, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco,
Consent agenda.
this item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 2, offered by Fusco, ordinance authorizing the purchase of 5 properties on Copley Road in furtherance of the city's Great Streets Akron initiative and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco,
Consent agenda.
this item will also be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 3, offered by Mosley, ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to enter into an agreement or agreements and/or legislation with the Ohio Director of Transportation for certain improvements in the city of Akron on State Route 93 and State Route 162 and declaring an emergency.
Councilwoman Mosley.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules.
Are there any objections on suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Nothing further.
Okay, thank you so much. So the committee's report is favorable. The rules have been suspended. Roll call.
Baylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Kamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Mosley,
Sorry.
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
This ordinance passes 13-0. Item number 4 is offered by Mayor Horgan. Resolution approving and confirming the appointment of Councilman Shamus Malik to the Summit Akron Solid Waste Management Authority Board Reworks with Dan Dempsey as his alternate for a term ending February 28th, 2025 and declaring an emergency.
Councilwoman Mosley.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules.
Any objections on suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, this resolution is to appoint Councilman Malik to the board. I'm not sure if the mayor or Councilman Malik would like to say something in that regard. I'll yield to them.
Okay, thank you. Mayor?
Yeah, I'll yield to Shamus. Obviously, the Reworks Board is fairly important in our recycling and need a council representative on there. And I know there's a lot of people on council that are, extremely concerned about the environment and looking forward to how we work with the board and your representation on there. So I appreciate your willingness to take the appointment as recommended by President Somerville. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mayor Horgan. Councilman Malik, you have any comments?
Yes, thank you very much. Appreciate the mayor's appointment and, looking forward to serving. Have talked with my predecessor, hopefully Ms. Connor, and have talked with the service department and look forward to trying to move the ball forward on recycling, particularly on recycling of glass. Have had some good conversations with the service department on that. So looking forward to it.
Thank you so much, Councilman Malik. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. Roll call.
Baylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Kamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Mosley,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
This resolution passes 13-0.
That concludes our new legislation for this evening. We'll now move to the portion of our meeting that we refer to as our public comment period. Just going to ask our clerk if she will let us know when all of our participants are in the room.
Sure. We had several people sign up, but only 4 have joined the meeting. We have Reverend John Beatty, Pastor Gregory Harrison, Edmika Minter, and Dee McCall. So if those people that have just joined can turn on their video and unmute so you can be sworn in.
Okay, if you all will raise your right hands. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Those people that have just joined can turn on their video and unmute so you can be sworn in.
Thank you so much. So kind of bear with us. We're trying something new here. So thank you all for signing up and being willing to participate in public comment period this evening. We just want to remind our speakers that this is an official meeting. Remarks should be kept respectful and germane to council business. Speakers who should refrain from making any personal attacks. Anyone who breaches decorum will be ruled out of order and will be removed from this meeting. So we're going to go ahead and start with Reverend Beatty.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the council. You can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. As a father of 2 working daughters, I'm a strong supporter of the Me Too movement. But I was upset by the Beacon Journal headline article last Friday, February 11th, that stated councilman workplace isn't hostile. To my mind, the headline and article literally reeked of a hatchet job against Councilman Russ Neal. Apparently, Councilman Neal must be doing a very good job or behaving very badly to get that kind of treatment from the city administration and its human resource director. I fully support Councilman Neal, and here is why. I know he is passionate for his ward, for constituents, for the city of Akron as a whole. As far as I know, he always tries to do what is right. He listens to the citizens of Akron, including myself. I find that he patiently gives helpful suggestions to whomever seeks help. I too have watched Councilman Neal interact with women, and I have noticed nothing of demeaning, dismissive talk or actions toward women. He does his homework. He asks questions. He brings new ideas to the council for consideration. He does not agree with actions or inactions just because we've always done it that way or we have never done it that way. Traditions are good, but are never permanent just because we have always done it that way. He's always looking for ways to better serve his constituents and the city of Akron. Likewise, he is always looking for ways that the city administration can better serve its citizens. He believes that the city council and the city administration are co-equal. He doesn't believe that you have to go along to get along. He believes that members of city council should be well informed with plenty of time to study proposed legislation before acting on it. He disagrees with efforts by the city administration to force legislation on city council members at the last minute with inadequate information. For instance, waiting until the day before a statutory deadline to approve the capital funds budget, or waiting to the end of a council meeting to announce the appointment of a new staff member to serve the city council, or is the new staff member just there to serve the president of the city council, whose father just happens to be a deputy mayor of Akron? And why didn't city council know how much pay the new staff member would receive before being asked to approve her appointment? I believe in the Me Too movement, but it should never be used as a cover for bullying behavior by women against men. It is past time to end dirty tricks against members of city council by the city administration. Thank you for letting me share my feelings and comments.
Thank you so much, Reverend Beatty. We're going to move on to Admika Mentor.
Hello, I am Amika Mentor, the president of the Erickson Tenant Union, and also I am here on behalf of Wilvis Arlington too. I am calling to update you guys on still what is a problem up here in these apartments owned by Redwood and managed by KMG. I recently got a phone call this morning. A mother was giving her baby a bath and the faucet was so loose inside the tub, it flew off and hit her baby in the face, and she had to go to take her baby to the hospital. Her baby now, 1-year-old now, has stitches in his face. I also want to talk about that people are still having rodent problems. They're still have roaches and everything crawling around their apartments. Sewage still coming up out their drains. So, like I said before, I'm asking for help. I'm asking you guys to speak out to see what we can do to move forward, because the problem is not going to go away. KMG is not working with the tenants. I have not spoken to them. I'm still waiting on a toilet from December 14th that is still leaking. And because it's leaking, roaches are crawling all in my bathroom trying to get the water. So I'm asking for funds to help build complexes for these tenants. I'm asking just for help, because we deserve equitable housing up here. We should not be treated like we're in a third world country. Somebody has to do something, and immediately. Thank you.
Mrs. Mentor, thank you so much for sharing. Pastor Harrison?
Good morning, everyone. Well, good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I am here to comment on the story that was reported in the Akron Beacon Journal. It concerns me greatly because this is a textbook lynching of a voice and strangulation of a voice. I certainly do not mean to say that there may not be cause for this, but I will say that there's a precedent that whenever a voice of dissent is launched, attacks like these seem to come frequent to those who are speaking in public. Want to bring everyone's attention back to 2015, when then-to-be Mayor Gary Moneypenny physically assaulted a council member to the point where he left marks on her arms. That was not intimidation. That was a sexual assault, and it was not investigated as such. And the ideal that the woman did not want to make a complaint should not matter. She was assaulted, and there was no action taken by the council. Councilman Bob Hoke verbally assaulted 2 African-American council members, and action was taken, but it was only after that action was forced. This scares me as a Black man, and every Black man that speaks out should be afraid. Every person who speaks out runs the risk of accusations that may or may not be true, but the appearance is they are not true. With the city administration issuing letters against Derek Hall and Dr. N.J. Akbar with the Akron School Board, it seems to be a pattern that when a Black man speaks out, someone is going after him for some reason. If this is not a legal lynching, it looks like a legal lynching. I would ask council to look back at the conduct that has happened in council and really question why the same rules were not applied. And again, I don't want to minimize anyone's pain, hurt, but I do want to say that if the rules are going to be applied evenly, then let's apply the rules evenly. But this is what systematic, institutionalized racism looks like. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Harrison. Dee McCall?
Good evening. Named Dee McCall. I'm a community organizer with the Freedom Bloc. We believe that those closest to the pain need to be closest to the power in order for structural change to come to fruition. We must heal our communities in a way that allows for new leaders to emerge and become more involved civically. Grassroots organizing will be the foundation of ensuring that Black and poor people are treated with humanity and dignity. And we do have leaders in our space that we're actively organizing with, and we need to make sure that we're actively listening to those. Councilman Russ Neal is a great man. I have had many great interactions with him, and I have never experienced any issues for him. And just as a context for the world, for public, it was on Zoom. How does one bully someone on Zoom with other people around? So just to bring context to light, it's real hard to bully somebody on Zoom when there are many people around. So as the pastor was saying, this is somewhat bullying, and we are the advocates of the people, And when it just so happens to be a person who is speaking out, they get issues. So let's keep it with the facts, and whoever those people are that's trying to really create issues, these are the people who are really talking on behalf of the people. And I am also one of those people that speaks on behalf of the community. We're closest to the pain, and we're actually working toward getting solutions. And this issue that we're talking about should not be discussed. There are people truly dying. There are people actively living in a state of emergency. And y'all talking about somebody getting bullied on Zoom. Like, we need to create better solutions for housing. We need to create equitable solutions and access to resources. This is a community that has been affected by the opioid epidemic, and those people that are affected by the opioid epidemic has a lack of access to opportunity to truly get help. There are a lot of people in the reentry community that are not actively having access to housing. There are many people that do not have access to housing, and we talking about somebody getting bullied on Zoom. We need to really bring the fact of the matter that things are really messed up right now, and we need to talk about what's truly important. And people's lives in these housings is really at hand. It's a state of emergency. And we need to hold these landlords accountable, and truly everyone who signs these permits off stating that these units are livable. True accountability must be had, and we're starting with our community leaders, which is city council. And re-election is coming up. So I hope that you all reconsider your re-election, because the people are watching y'all.
Excuse me, you've reached your time frame.
But we've been talking about this for quite some time.
Dee, thank you so much. Your time is up. I appreciate all the comments and all those who have participated in our public comment period on this evening. We will now close our public comment period and move into committee assignments. Planning and Economic Development, Councilman Fusco.
Thank you. 1 o'clock on the 28th.
Health and Social Services, Councilwoman Amobian.
2:30.
Parks and Rec, Councilman Neal.
1:45.
Public Utilities and Green Committee, Councilman Freeman.
2:45.
Public Service, Councilwoman Mosley.
2 p.m.
Budget and Finance, Councilman Freeman.
3 p.m.
Public Safety, Councilman Kamer.
2:15.
Rules, Councilman Freeman.
Subject to call.
Housing and Neighborhood Assistance, Councilman Fusco.
Subject to call.
Okay, thank you so much. Is there anything else coming before council at this time?
Madam President, I would like to.
Absolutely, Councilwoman Amobian.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam President. There are 3 things I would just like to say. Is that certainly I voted for the capital investment plan, mainly because it has to be turned in by a certain date, and the chair said by the 15th. And also, these projects will come before us again, and each one will come before us. I've asked Mrs. Tomic, and I know that I hope they are working on this, is that we find more money to put in housing rehab, because I don't care how many new houses we build, there are a number of people who live in the city of Akron who cannot afford a new home. And hopefully by the time we start addressing these projects individually, that we will have a metric, because everybody's talking about developing it, and hopefully by that time we will have one. And thirdly, I'd just like to mention that for those of you who read the paper several weeks ago about the Inner Belt fiasco that happened many years ago that displaced so many families, I've asked Mrs. Tomic if, as we start finding money for rehabbing houses, if we can find money for that particular area of Douglas and Bishop, because there are a number of houses right there, and those individuals cannot afford to move. And I figure if we could come up with a certain amount of money for each house, we can rehab those homes and help those individuals out. If you listen to the podcast that was part of that article several weeks ago, that Reverend Harrison participated in, he gave a very good history. I was not in Akron at the time this happened, but that history lesson really resonated with me. And you learn a lot about the impact of that Inner Belt project and how negatively it impacted families that were displaced. So for that, I would recommend council members listen to that. And certainly I share a lot of the concerns that were expressed by my colleague, Mr. Neal, but I do believe that these projects, when they come back before us, hopefully we will have a metric. We'll have some way of looking at how we're spending these ARPA dollars. So with that, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Mobian. Councilwoman Mosley?
Thank you, Madam President. A few things. The first thing I want to make sure that Mika and Dee McCall know that we hear their voices. We do have a housing shortage here in the city of Akron. And when we talk about all the vacant properties that we have, that could definitely help subside on some of the lack of housing that we have here in the city. So I do hope that we do take a comprehensive look at what we can do as a city to rehab those homes. Rent is sky high. I've spent the last month with my daughter trying to help her find a 2-bedroom, and some of these places, they're charging upwards to $1,600-$1,700 a month, where these places maybe 2 years ago were probably only charging $800-$900. And then you can't find anything, and as soon as you look, it's gone. They're not staying there long as high as they are. So even with the influx in rent, I'm more concerned about the mass amount of evictions that are eventually going to take place because of rent being on an uptick. But then if you do want to buy a house, you can't find one. So we have to figure out what do we do to address that issue and keep people here, because now we're looking all the way out in Cargo Falls and Stowe for her place because we can't find one in Akron. And from firsthand experience, we're out here looking and there's nothing. I've even called a couple of my colleagues and friends asking did they know anyone that was renting, and no one has anything. And so when we talk about people who are getting housing vouchers, they can get a voucher. They're not finding anywhere to live. And that's a problem that we need to address immediately. So I do hope that we will take a good look at that and really, really address the issues that are going on in these housing complexes and really try to get HUD to really do their part. I've talked to Cleveland City Council President as well about, some of the HUD housing, and they're dealing with the same issues up in Cleveland. And then lastly, to what Mr. Beatty and where Reverend Beatty and Pastor Harrison stated about Councilman Neal, I wanted to be on the record that I support Russ, not only as a colleague, but as a friend. I appreciate his passion because I share that passion. It gets me in trouble sometimes too. But I'm concerned. I'm concerned that something that should have been addressed within this body, within these two branches of government, made its way to the paper before we knew anything about it. It concerns me that I get a call from a newspaper about something that was fed to them from inside City Hall. That concerns me. And was Mr. Neal even notified about this before he even made it to the paper? That concerns me even more. And I do hope that as we move through this process, whether it involves city council or not, I don't think any of us even know that part of it. I do hope that anyone who has waged any kind of allegation against Mr. Neal is not a part of the process in investigating Mr. Neal, because that would be problematic as well. And again, we all have passion. All of us do. Some of us get along better than others, but it's okay. That's okay. We are all here to serve a purpose that we were elected to do, and that was to represent the people in this city. We should not be the tone police. And we haven't met in person since July 26th of 2021. We've not met in person. So to create a hostile work environment, I'm just trying to figure out how that would happen when we haven't even met in person since July. So again, I think we all need to do better as a council. I'm not trying to reprimand anyone. These are my passionate feelings, and I support my friend because I know him as a person and as a leader in this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Neal?
Thank you, Madam President. I want to thank those for their comments. My colleagues, Ms. Mosley, Councilwoman Mosley and Councilwoman Mobian. You know, it's I've seen a lot of just unconscionable things take place since I've been in government. I've seen some just dirty things. And this is one of the lowest. We talk about institutional practices that create disparities and hardships in our community. To be charged of things and not even know what you're charged of. So this is what I want to ask. Since someone within either the administration or council aired this in the public without it even coming before council and me even knowing who these are, I'd like to, I still don't know what the allegations are. I still don't know who my accusers are. I have an idea of one. I want council to be able to get all of the information that I get so that I could address them line by line, online, so that the public could follow the process. You know, you put this out there into the atmosphere and try to damage someone's character, assassinate their character with no validity. I mean, to make a statement that we've had conversations about this before. I used false in the email when I said but that's just an outright lie. You know, and because council doesn't understand how council works, there are things that have been taken. You talk about bullying. We are supposed to respect each one's ward. Just like Governor DeWine, Governor DeWine doesn't come into Akron and do things without touching base with Mayor Horgan, or Congresswoman Fudge, or Congresswoman Brown now come in and do things in Akron. We're supposed to respect each other's wards. But I have had the administration and council members come in and plan meetings, co-opt money that's meant for my ward and direct it to organizations outside of my ward rather than working with organizations in my ward. You know, I understand the politics when we're running for races. I've had members walk against me with their fathers and their grandmothers. Hey, that's fine when that's during political season. But we have people dying on the streets, begging for help with their homes. So when we're in office, let's put the politics aside and help our people. But you want to continue to try to play the politics and demean and destroy someone. So let's not play games. I want the information of those who are accusing me so that all the council can see it, so that I can address each and every item. Because again, we haven't met. Everything I'm being accused of is through Zoom. And if my voice or I get into the camera and you don't like that, that's one thing. But I have never harassed a woman. And to put that out there is liable. But you can do that in the political world, because you know, with politics, you can hide by, you could cover up a lie, you could cover up racism. You know, I really thought we were better than this. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman Neal. Mayor Horgan?
Sure. Let me address a few things. One, you know, many of you maybe you want to on some sort of victim shaming tour, but this city has an obligation to investigate all city employee complaints. And to suggest that I would co-opt or somehow coerce 1, 2, 4, 6 people into testifying about the same thing, that's absolutely ludicrous. And to suggest that we would leak it to the Beacon Journal for some sort of political gain or use it as a tactic, especially as I've spent time in your ward with you on the bike and in your council meetings. We may disagree on a ton of things, but to sit there and say that we would do this for some sort of political gain is absolutely ludicrous. And you know that. So at some particular point, you all as council people agreed on rules that you all get abide by. And we have an obligation as a city to defend city employees and to create a non-hostile work environment. And we will investigate those seriously through those policies and procedures that the administration controls and council does not weigh in on to do that and protect all city employees in that environment. There are a number of claims out there, and it's easy to speak in public comment and hear a lot of comments devoid of facts. And those are the facts of what's going on. At some particular point, you all have to decide what that is. But to sit there and say that you want to go line by line, and you've had that interview with those, and not to get into all of that, because that's between council and yourself to be able to do that. So I've heard a lot of things, especially on here, that are completely unfactual. And over the last 7 years, we've disagreed on a number of things. And I would remind you that, you know, that I was elected citywide. So if there's things to do in your ward or in somebody else's ward to help people, then we're going to continue to do that. If you'd like to support that, I'll always ask you to help and support it. If not, that's okay. But we're still going to move forward and do it. That's all I have.
Thank you so much, Mayor Horgan. Councilman Kamer?
Thank you, Madam President. I understand City Council. We have a lot of pressing issues that we must look into and discuss. I'd like to add something else to our plate. I know some of us, I think all of us had the chance to receive some emails over the last couple months in regards to the possibility of our animal control facility with Summit County. Some of these nonprofit rescue groups that are helping out our animal wardens. Some of these folks live in my ward, and I'm hearing so many different stories. I was wondering if we can move forward with setting up a time, even if it's in neighborhood assistance, or getting an update from our director of neighborhood assistance or the administration in regards to if there's a problem with taking animals in the city of Akron with our animal wardens to the Summit County animal facility. I know just over the weekend, Councilwoman Connor and I were discussing through email how we can try to help with some of these organizations. Like I said, I'm trying to get to the bottom of it with what's going on, trying to speak with some of these residents that live in Ward 7. But I just want to see if you or somebody can put together some kind of meeting or an update to get us some information if there is something going on or not. So basically the bottom line is what I'm being told is the animal control facility will not take any dogs, that the animal wardens will bring them from the city of Akron. So I appreciate that if we could do that. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Councilman Cameron. We'll make sure we get that information for you. Councilman Fusco?
Yes, thank you, President Somerville. Within our rules of the of council, which we had voted on in December of last year, I believe, or January of last year. Within those rules, it's kind of mapped out that council leadership has an obligation if something is brought forward that may violate whatever it is. This is nothing new in terms of the procedures that leadership has taken in the past in terms of meeting if someone have an investigation, have an opportunity to have a discussion with the individual that complaints may have been or may not have been levied at. and investigate that. And then the procedures, it's all laid out. We all voted on this. Well, most of us voted on this. Almost all of us voted on it. And it gives the path, all the rules that we have to follow. So if something is brought to the attention of the president, to leadership, and we would be neglectful if we didn't pursue that and try to find what the answers are and try to find out what the problem was, and that these rules were all followed. It's up to us, the council leadership, to investigate this. That's been done. And if you read section 9.2, the code of ethics, if you read 9.4, the discipline and conduct during outside council meetings, this is what has been followed to the T. And it's been followed in the past in other situations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilman Fusco. Councilman Neal, just briefly, please.
Madam President, I do not even know who the 6 women are that are accusing me. I have an idea of one. And the questions I've raised about that one are legitimate because this council violated its charter. The questions were, we have what I thought was an independent contractor. Now I'm told they're an employee. No legislation came before this council. No job description. How much is that person being paid? All of that is to be approved by council. None of that came to us. I was under the understanding that they were assumed the white space contract. That is a violation of our charter. Council approves all employees, not leadership. Leadership serves the body of council. This thing of keep trying to say leadership, and usurping, sucking the power out of council is absurd. And it makes us a laughingstock to our colleagues who know better. Nothing was brought before me, Mr. Fusco. I have never had a conversation with you, Madam President, or Councilman Freeman, as stated in the paper, because none of this has ever happened. And if anything is supposed to do, it is the body, this body, council, that does the investigation. And how can the council do an investigation if I don't even know what I'm being charged of? I believe there's possibly one person.
Councilman Neal, this is not even appropriate at this time. So thank you so much.
Madam President, I don't have the information.
And we'll make sure that you get it. We'll make sure that you get whatever information it is that you need, okay? No problem. Councilwoman Amobian?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. There's just 2 statements I'd like to make. You know, the mayor was on talking about what happens with his staff and all that. My question to him, and we can meet privately, it doesn't matter. What happens when his staff is being disrespectful to council and going out saying things and he is made aware of it? Where do we go to have that addressed? And the second thing I like to say is that if we approved these rules as indicated by Mr. Councilman Fusco, then I think we need to revisit these rules to make sure that we are carrying them out in the manner in which we voted for them. Because some of these things that are happening, I have real concerns about. So, and I certainly would like to meet with the mayor and find out exactly what do we do when your staff is being disrespectful to council. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Amobian. Councilwoman Mosley?
Thank you, Madam President. Just to very briefly, these complaints, and to my knowledge, didn't arise with council. I only found out about this issue because the Beacon Journal called me. The Beacon Journal called me and said it was given to them by someone at City Hall. So it came from somewhere. It came from somewhere, and they were sitting on it. This is what they told me. They were sitting on it. She actually was calling me for another story and slipped this in there, and it totally caught me off guard because I had no clue what she was talking about. So Mayor Horgan, I'm not saying you sent it to him. Somebody gave it to him because it came from within City Hall. That's how they had it. And they had been sitting on it. This is what they told me. I'm not pulling this out of the sky. This is what they told me. Now, for someone who's been investigated by this body, I know a little bit about what happens here. The council president at that time was Gary Moneypenny. He called us into an executive session and said that it came to him some issues about me. And at that time, Jim Hurley was the only one who said, let her talk, give her an opportunity to state her case. No one had ever come to me. No one had ever said anything to me, but he called us into executive session and we had a conversation about it. It wasn't in the paper, and then he talked to me. He pulled me to the side, and then we went to executive session, and everybody was able to ask a question. And then they did their investigation, but it didn't go to the paper first. What we have to do is start talking as an elected body. We were all elected the same, regardless of our titles. We all were elected the same, and we need to respect that, and we don't. We don't. I respect leadership, but we all were all elected the same. And there should have been a conversation about this, not after the fact. It is so disappointing when we pick up papers and the Beacon knows more than the 13 of us. And it's becoming continual. And I'm not mad at the Beacon because they're doing their job. This is what they're being paid to do. But something has to give here. This shouldn't have never made it to the paper without us having a conversation about it first. And no one is discounting anyone who feels that they may have been harmed. I'm all for the Me Too movement. This ain't a Me Too movement. And I'm a woman. This ain't one of those moments. But we need to have a conversation because this is wrong on all counts. And again, no one ever said, Mayor Horgan, that you gave it to the Beacon. But somebody did. Somebody did. And we all should have known about it before the paper did. Especially the person being accused.
Thank you, Councilwoman Mosley. Councilman Freeman?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to summarize. There are a few folks out there that have obviously had concerns, and, you know, out of the mouth of two or more witnesses, the matter is established. So something has taken place. I mean, the thought that that 6 people would conspire together, that just doesn't seem likely. So I hope we can stay focused on that. But one of the things that hasn't been said is that President Somerville, Vice President Fusco, myself, we had invited Mr. Neal in to meet with us today at whatever 4:30, and that meeting was declined. So I don't want the public to think that, you know, we haven't reached out at all. We have, and, you know, and I still hope that meeting can happen. But I just want to say to the folks that that have concerns, or folks that I don't know if I should say brought charges or not. That might not be the appropriate way of saying it. Is I just don't want someone who feels like they've been harassed, whatever the case might be. I do not want them to shy away from, you know, demanding that they have a safe workplace, and that we as council members in all of this, we remember that there's 4, 5, 6, however many individuals out there that do feel they have an unsafe workplace, and that should be the focus. You know, whether that was coming from me or if it was coming from Mr. Neal, if it was coming from any of us, we would want the focus to be to watch out after those employees that have made these accusations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilman Freeman. Councilman Neal, just briefly, please.
Thank you, Madam President. Just briefly, Councilman Freeman, I scheduled that meeting and I canceled it because of the lie that stated that we had met and had conversations about this before. You, Mr. Fusco, and Ms. Somerville, none of us have ever met regarding this issue or any issue. The 3 of us have never been on Zoom or in a room and had a conversation. I do not have confidence in meeting with leadership. Per our charter, that comes before council. Yes, we could set up a special committee, but I don't care. The president, vice president pro tem serves the council body. It is council that governs, not leadership. And I feel more comfortable coming before council, because then when it's all of us, it could be public for the public to watch the process.
Okay.
I have no confidence
Okay.
in meeting with just the three.
Okay, thank you so much, Councilman Neal. Is there anything else coming before council at this time? I do want to have just a few brief comments and remarks. I want to remind council, I am so troubled by this conversation right now, but we do have a responsibility and we have a duty to make sure that we create a safe working environment for our employees and staff here. And when I mean safe, meaning that they have the right to come to us if they have a concern, and we have a duty to investigate it. And so we plan to do that. So I just want to make that very clear. There was a full investigation that was done in October. We conducted that investigation privately and confidentially to protect all parties. And that's how we wanted it to remain. Now, how it got leaked, I don't know. I'm so sorry that it did. Because there's a lot of people who are involved in this who are also hurt. So not just you, Councilman Neal, there's other parties involved as well. We have a process in place and we intend to follow that process. So thank you so much. On a much lighter note, happy Valentine's Day. I want you to know we're not meeting on next week because of President's Day. So at this time, if there's nothing else coming before council, I'm just going to please ask for an adjournment.
Motion.
Thank you so much. No objections. This meeting is adjourned.
Concludes the live broadcast of Akron City Council. Margot Somerville, President of Council, presiding.